Hey friends, welcome to Columbia College 2023 Entrepreneurship Showcase.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those who were with us earlier, welcome back. For the folks who are new to the room, welcome. Before we start, I want to congratulate our students, and I see them throughout the room, that pitched this morning for your outstanding pitches. Your hard work was evident. It's now my pleasure, though, to introduce and welcome our keynote speaker for today for the Stephen and Barbara Fishman Student Business Pitch Competition and Entrepreneurship Showcase. Our keynote speaker is Ben McDougal. He's an author and entrepreneurial ecosystem builder. He's an innovative leader who supports students, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and community builders who care enough to become indispensable by evolving ideas into reality. His diversified career portfolio is fueled by his work with 1 Million Cups, Techstars, the emerging Web3 space, and a variety of successful entrepreneurial ventures. I always think they're adventures. Please join me in welcoming Ben McDougal.
Good afternoon. You are in the right place. I'm so thankful to be here. Becky, appreciate the kind words. And this morning, how inspiring, right? Seeing some of these students who are deciding to build on the timeline of now, hearing the way that they've been building, pitching and telling stories along the way. Congrats again to all the students who are definitely not requiring permission to build. So my name is Ben McDougal. I thought we'd start today with a little storytelling. Knowing that there's plenty of students in the audience, I thought I would take you back to as I emerged out of school and the way I was thinking. Startup wasn't a word back then. And so you were going to get an expensive piece of paper to go build someone else's dream, which makes me so envious of the folks who are building now. You're so far ahead. I promise you, it's a safe bet. We'll talk about intrapreneurship today. We'll talk about side hustles. We'll talk about entrepreneurship along the way. But as I came out of school, I looked at video game development and decided to land in website development. This was the early days of Web 2. A lot of business owners wanted a website but didn't know why. So it was perfect for a business development guy who could sell a static website for like $2,000 to $5,000. Oh, you wanted to change content on your site? Oh, that's expensive. And so I ended up working with a lot of different business owners, and looking back, it was very entrepreneurial, learning how people were building their own companies and telling their stories online. And so this is what my career portfolio looked like right out of school with a computer science degree. Now, before we go too much further, this is interactive. So one thing I'd like to invite everyone to do, no matter what social media is your favorite, I like to light up Twitter. But this hashtag is a neat way for us to share our experience online, and I would invite you not only do that with yourself, but connect with others who are using this CC showcase, and maybe we'll have some fun highlighting the way that those connections have evolved even in this milestone moment. All right, so back on track. After I realized how powerful the internet was, I was like, well, this is interesting. I played soccer in college, and so maybe I can develop a 3v3 soccer experience that felt a little more pro grade. And so I found a bunch of sponsors, built this beautiful website. Like online registration was still hard. So we ended up bringing players all ages from a lot of different areas around the Midwest to compete in my first entrepreneurial venture. I had to sell that because we had built a social network back when MySpace was cool. And so this is gatheringofgamers.com. Remember that interest in video games? I wasn't told you could wedge yourself into the side door using entrepreneurship. And so I didn't need to go build video games to be around video games, and found the value of community building in this work. And so using the live video game event management kind of experience that emerged in the soccer, taking that and using it to create video game events around North America before esports. And so we traveled around. I played Guitar Hero in Times Square and with BlackBerry at Disney World. Our largest event was up in Canada. As esports started to evolve, we were drawn towards these larger events. But as you can see, the diversified career portfolio starts to take shape. Notice the stability that I maintain with kind of a traditional position at the web development company, while exploring some of my passions and also reducing the size. I sold that soccer venture in order to create more personal bandwidth for Jet Set Studio. This is a fun, I had to include it. I was here in 2014, and I know that because I looked and found this photo. So you might recognize that theater on campus. We ran a fun Madden tournament for students. The winner took on the incoming president, and of course, the student destroyed the president, and he won books for tires, I think a year, plus some pizza from a sponsor. So it gathered all sorts of attention nationwide. EA Sports was involved. The whole room was packed with community members who were enthusiastic about that experience. So it's great to be back at Columbia College. One thing I'm going to do throughout our time together here is just take quick pit stops for some key takeaways. You know, I think my parents told me the opportunity exists to network before you might be in the real world, right? But there's so much value in building your network before you need it. And so I encourage folks who might have that fear we talked about yesterday of, boy, I don't know why I need to be into this environment. I don't have anything to offer. That's misguided. You have a lot of energy, you have curiosity, you have experience. You're working on the modern frontier of the way humans interact. A business owner is going to get excited about that, be curious about what you think of what they're building, but also maybe there are opportunities to collaborate as you connect dots in that first degree of connection, but who do they know? And who do they know? And so building into your engaged network before you need it is something that we can all either ratchet up or begin. There's never too late to begin. So this is an interesting milestone in my life. We were sitting around Sunday fun day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Turns out my last name is McDougal, and I feel like I'm missing something in my hand right now. Let me pass that around if you'd like. So we were sitting at this craft brewery drinking our samplers. And as you've probably experienced, they arrive, you're excited. Which one's which? Maybe you've gotten a sushi platter that you're excited about. Which one's which? Like the food and beverage industry has so many examples where a more enlightened sampling experience could be supported with technology. And so we built the world's first electronic serving system. We started in craft beer, and what's been passed around is an early version. You click on the touch screen to learn more about what's being served, and all that data is valuable for the industry on the back end. And so that was Flightbright. As you can see, the career portfolio really shifted. I retired out of web development after 8 years and went in-house at a client. A quick takeaway here is that you can build your own role. Of course, you can apply for an existing posting, and that's exciting. But the innovation that you can have understanding your skill set and the way you can collaborate with someone you already trust may unlock an ability to work together in a more innovative way. My role at Drake Homes started with a text message. What do you think of a digital marketing director? And I got to go in-house at a client and really create some art, showcasing the homes that we were building and never really touching a hammer. And so this was a fun, another 8-year portion of my career. But going into it, there was a lot of transparency, which we'll talk about in a moment, making sure that there was alignment on how I spent my time. And so it became a partnership versus some sort of a hierarchy entering that position. when I left sales, something inside clicked, and I lost all reason to have ulterior motives. I wasn't talking to you like, oh, this is great. Does she want a website? Does she want a website? Does she want a website? And that created a freedom to talk about anything and get really curious about what actually you're doing. If you care what I'm doing, it's a secret. Let's talk more about you, you know? And that is where I really started to lean into some of the tribes that I had already built trust within. It was a chance to lead. And so I acquired Des Moines Startup Drinks, rebranded it. We had this monthly gathering on the happy side of our days, but also had always been enjoying 1 Million Cups. 1 Million Cups is a program that you have here in Columbia. So this group can all meet together for coffee every Wednesday morning. I think it's at the Ready building, if I'm correct. They just celebrated 7 years. And so I had been having coffee every Wednesday as an entrepreneur, right? It's like my weekly dose of innovative energy. And then continuing to build community was really kind of the shift in the way I was spending my time. Another key takeaway for you, I assume this is a tweetable thought, hashtag CC Showcase. But the energy of accelerating others is unmatched. Like people talk about, oh man, you're so energized, you're so energized. We'll talk about it in a second. The easiest way to be consistent is to be authentic. Everyone wants to talk about being authentic, and I think that's valuable. But if I don't feel good this day, I don't really care about this project, do you really want authentic? Perhaps you want consistent in that business environment. And the easiest way to be consistent is authentic. This energy is self-sustaining. As you connect dots, as you listen to someone and what they're building, as you make a connection, as you build a company that serves those you care about, this energy is reoccurring. And so the career portfolio shifted one more time. This is the current state and the way that I've enjoyed the opportunity to connect and support entrepreneurs. So along with those ventures that we've talked about along the way, 1 Million Cups evolved into something much more exciting. It's the blessing of my life. I volunteered for over 5 years in our Des Moines community and was given the opportunity to build a regional rep role about 5 years ago. And so this role is helping support and connect other communities. And now I help support about 65 1 Million Cups teams of volunteer organizers building in small, medium, and large type of entrepreneurial ecosystems. So I'm so thankful for the Kauffman Foundation, for this program, and how it's making an impact across the entire country. Techstars, as some of you may know, is one of the world's largest accelerators. And so Techstars Iowa was a program that was industry agnostic and came in with this understanding of entrepreneurial ecosystem building through the lens of multimedia marketing, helped to tell the story of our companies, our program, and connected dots, almost like this spider, weaving, tightening, expanding a web throughout Techstars and our local environment. So I'm so thankful for that. Real quick question, who here has heard of entrepreneurial ecosystem building? Nice, all right, opportunity. So one of the things you'll start to see in entrepreneurship programs at the educational level might be a class on the art of connection and support of entrepreneurs as economic development. And so you can be involved with entrepreneurship, and experience is going to help you have empathy with those entrepreneurs. But you can be involved as that economic development point and then start to look at ways of making that a position in large companies, in communities, in different programs that find value in a more connected environment. So imagine having coffee every Wednesday for 10 years. Imagine building a couple of things that you find interesting, and all the learning, all the experience, all the stories that you hear over that time. It started to feel like there was impending regret if I was unable to synthesize my understanding into a relic for that moment and pass it along, just even to my little one, right? And so I embarked on the book that so generously was provided by our friends at Columbia College. This has delivered so much peace. It took 1.25 years to write, and I also have some interesting insight on publishing a book. And so this talk is not all about writing a book and getting that out, but if you're curious about it, most people have thought about writing a book. I'm happy to help navigate the fog. But in my case, I wanted to deliver something that felt like a common cadence to this entrepreneurial lifestyle. And so you start with ideation. Notice community is chapter 2. And I'm excited that each one of you have a physical signed softcover. Know that there's an audio book, and we're having some fun sharing these caffeinated conversations with folks all around the country. And so when I think about translating some of what I've already shared and some of the experiences along the way, I thought I would start with kind of Innovation 101, and then we'll pop over and talk a little bit more granular. So Innovation 101 is kind of a quick class. It's like, I think we often get misguided with how hard or distant entrepreneurship is. I invite you to tinker. I invite you not to worry too much about financial capital. Yes, it speeds things up and is required at certain stages. But with a computer that sits in your pocket or something that sits on your desk, you can build right now. And so there's value in understanding that entrepreneurship, while framework, while experiences connecting into the community classroom, is valuable. Spend time learning some of the tactics that will help you avoid pitfalls, but recognize too that action is required. That's why it's named the way that it is. And so the fact that money is not everything, I believe you can focus on a couple of different things. There's value in singularity if you are taking someone else's money or if you have people to pay. But if you're lean, a lone wolf type of builder, you can build a lot with a little. And you can actually explore different ideas, allowing paying customers to guide a roadmap. There's obviously no one path to success. One interesting paradox, and I'm not sure, I understand why someone asked, but how do you define success, or how have you become successful? It's such a broad question. I don't have that answer. My quick one yesterday was the art of connection. And so thinking about the opportunity to explore multiple ideas, appreciating the fact that you won't be picked, right? Even if you are the best at something, it takes initiative to show up and deliver on promises. Failure is forever. That's definitely a myth. I almost don't even use failure, right? We either learn or succeed. Thinking more about these as pit stops, chances, opportunities to pivot, to move through barriers. Feedback is data. That's a good one, especially from today, right? With our pitch competition and some of the questions that were asked. Look, the more data you collect, the better decision you can make. And so the more people you talk to during customer discovery, which is like the work, being able to take all that feedback and make the best decision on behalf of what you believe is going to help you avoid one person saying it needs to go this way, when in fact that's just their perspective. When you choose to say yes, you're also choosing to say no to other things. And so while I'm encouraging you to tinker and go in different directions, being aware of your personal bandwidth will help you avoid yourself diluting to mediocrity. We need you, my friends. The wild card I've felt is persistence. You hear someone present, I'm not sure. You see them 6 months later, they're still building. A year later, they've got a team member. 2 years later, they're profitable. 3 years later, they're hired. It's like if you continue to persist, opportunity does seem to trickle your way. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about entrepreneurship first. And so this is a moment, sometimes I like to create a space, especially online. This is a tactic you can use. Invite everyone to get a candle and invite everyone to breathe together for like 5 breaths on Zoom. It'll create a sense of one. And so instead of me trying to distract you while you're trying to read, this is a 5-second mental health break. You can take a moment, enjoy a breath or two, let this sink in, and we'll continue. I'm so thankful to be here. Entrepreneurship, you're championing change inside of existing organizations. Leaders will fear you, but they need you. That's why this is such a safe bet. If you explore that innovative spirit, you can go in and make an impact. You can make a ruckus. You can be that unicorn in a balloon factory that helps companies stay ahead of the innovation curve. Vice versa, if you own a company, I know it can feel a little non-intuitive to celebrate someone's side hustle or to translate paid volunteer hours instead of paid time off. This is a way that you can encourage people to get out into the community and bring that innovative energy back into the mix. You'll lose people, right? They'll start their own activities, and that's fantastic. Their loyalty to you will remain, and the funnel of fresh, interesting talent will continue to emerge. And so I think showing up and being out in that mix is a good place to spend that time. It's not billable hours, so it's hard to kind of go out and not answer that next email. But the 2 hours that you're spending at 1 Million Cups, I guarantee is more valuable than answering that email in that moment. And so being willing to show up, you'll feel a lot of similarities between these three types of concepts because they do all weave together. Entrepreneurs need entrepreneurs, right, to learn how they're building, to learn what's next. Entrepreneurs need entrepreneurs for connections. Maybe it's customer opportunities. And so learning how to be very collaborative in a positive sum mindset, where if you win, we win. This is the type of economic development mindset that's really allowing for more collaboration along with some friendly competition. Be generous. Generosity builds trust. So each time you do something for others, over time you're like collecting this social currency. You're building that engaged network. And if you or when you need it, you're going to have true fans that step up quick to get involved with whatever you're doing. And in that position, are you indispensable, right? Can you show that you are doing something that is not able to be done by someone less expensive, right? This is a couple of books I think are important for anyone who's going into a job where they are not the owner. Seth Godin is my favorite thinker. You'll notice my lifetime achievement on the back cover of that book. And these are some books that I encourage everyone to take a peek at, especially students. This is my #1 recommended book for anyone in 1 through 16. So anyone that's exploring how to create your own art, being remarkable, making a ruckus. The Icarus Deception is a beautiful narrative that will make you feel like Neo from The Matrix. Poking the Box, Linchpin's a beautiful narrative. Talks a lot about education, why the system is the way that it is. Talks a lot about being indispensable and using that as your currency. And then Free Prize Inside is a beautiful thought. Remember those cereal boxes and the little prize arrived? You almost bought the cereal just to see that what was inside, right? And so those are some really influential books that I encourage anyone, especially entrepreneurs, to spend some time in. And as you'll see in the side hustle chapter, if you don't need this book, there is a little sidebar that says, look, entrepreneurs probably deserved an entire separate chapter, maybe its whole book, but really the concepts apply for both in a lot of similar ways. So next we'll take a look at side hustles, right? Another little dental health break. This is so fun. When you have too many words on the slide, you're choosing to let the audience either pay attention to what you say or read. So I'll just let you read, and now we can chat. All right, so side hustles. I didn't know it was called this. Moonlighting's another term. You can build almost anything yourself, let alone being around others who care about something that you share. And so this is the invitation for anyone, no matter their stage in life, to tinker. When you're doing that, you don't have to have financial capital, but it helps sustain and extend the runway for staying creative. And so letting customer discovery guide that roadmap of development is a safe way that you can lean into the pain and truly look at what you're trying to deliver instead of building something you think is cool. Now, that can be fun, but if there's endless, $0 connected to it, the hobby will energize other areas of your life, but being honest with that hobby is important. And so delivering on that promise is another key thing I want to lean into, because when you have a lot going on, we all have attention spans of a few nanoseconds, let alone the time to build something meaningful. And when you're doing these side hustles, it's important to have the reality, the real ability to deliver on what you're promising. The first time you say you're going to do X, Y, and Z and you don't, that's going to be toxic, and it's going to start spreading through that project. So I would invite you to try something, and what's the worst thing that can happen? This is a good way to keep in mind your personal bandwidth. I like to do this exercise once a year. Spending time modifying that diversified career portfolio. And when you think about adding, removing, winners quit all the time, friends. They just know when and what. But then being able to translate some of these characteristics through the way you're working on your project. Being realistic, we talked about that. Staying balanced, of course, is important. Transparency, talking with others you're collaborating with so that you're not weighted down by building in secrecy. One of the things that you'll always feel is this headline trap. Oh, co-founder A just won the pitch competition. Co-founder B just raised, $500,000. They raised $11 million. They just IPO'd. That can be a distraction. It makes you feel like you're never going to get somewhere, and that they're so lucky to have burnt the ship and have gone all in with their venture. I'm here to tell you that a lot of folks over on that side of the fence are envious of the stability that you have, knowing that side hustles just have less risk involved. And so you can build with a little slowness that's well communicated and sequenced, but it's an invitation to feel some grace for yourself, giving yourself room to build, and recognizing that because it's not getting your full-time effort, it's going to take more time, and that's okay. This is not a race. I'll finish my slide deck with a little bit about dancing, but that's something I encourage. I've got a new line of idea books to support this exercise that you'll read about in the ideation chapter. There's plenty of people that have an idea machine. They're always thinking of an idea. That's beautiful. Maybe you're not one of them. Maybe you don't have this business idea and feel like a paralyzed vibe when you think about what do I even start to build? And so recognizing that this exercise is a way to flex your mind, like you would go to the gym, think of 5 new ideas and physically write them down in an idea book. Even if you start to wane and this starts to collect dust, you can come back to it. You have still done yourself a service. Bell it just left. But if you connect with me anyway online, I have a lot of activity throughout social media. I write every week. There's some QR codes that you'll see on the closing slide as well. Anyone who connects with me afterwards, they literally showing up in 2 days. I will pay to ship a free idea book your way, and I'd love to hear how that exercise feels, even after that first week, where it really starts to feel like, okay, this is harder than it sounded. I know that. Oh, that's great. The entrepreneurial spirit, I'm so thankful for this path toward career nirvana. This is an experience, this is a lifestyle, this is a decision. It's less about life-work balance, and this is just you. And entrepreneurship is such a gift. And so cheers to those who are leaning into the things that they're building. Cheers to all of you who are exploring your entrepreneurial spirit. I often ask this paradox, does everyone have an entrepreneurial spirit? There's endless answers, and I'm not sure that there's a right one. One of my favorite responses is no, because everyone might have a creative spirit when they're willing to apply hints of risk or given the privilege to apply some risk. They're given an opportunity to explore more of that entrepreneurial spirit. And so there's no answer, but that's one response that caught my attention. This is going to take you out to my site. Writing is so healthy. It's like you learn about the world by reading, you learn about yourself as you are able to articulate that in written words. You kind of fill up with content, and by talking you release some of it, but by writing you can continue to refine and learn how to articulate yourself as well. And so I've been writing every week for over 2 years, And I would encourage everyone, as Seth Godin says every day, but at least a consistent basis. Journal for yourself, but know there's an extra layer of fear that you have to push past in order to ship that art and truly connect it with those that you care about. And so I'm here to help with any of your interests in creating that form of content. Entrepreneurship, side hustles, entrepreneurship, this is all the same like cloth, right? These different fibers apply for all things. But it's interesting, like showing up, working hard, being on time, like standing out, avoiding the question, what do you do? Like get more creative in those environments, and then follow up. Like some of the simple tactics that go along with those 5 things will separate you and show the initiative that is hard to find. Care is scarce, my friends, and if you care enough, you'll start to deliver that generosity by showing up. The customer discovery process never ends. Staying generous, being confident because you know your numbers, but then having enough room for that intellectual humility, the ability to think again, like we talked about from last night's talk, right? Adding complexity into a conversation so that not just yes or no, but there might be a spectrum of places where we can disagree and agree at the same time. Being willing to have that sophisticated understanding of numbers will give you the confidence while continuing to explore with genuine curiosity. Asking for help, I think of mentorship, I think of advisors, and then being able to tell stories that sell. This is a little piece from another workshop I enjoyed leading called The Pitch. Stories are how humans connect. Ever wonder why people like to talk about the weather? I don't know you, but we share that. It's a pretty easy go-to. So when you know someone, skip past that. You can't change it. Let's talk about something more interesting. And so when I think about storytelling, being in the business, understanding why you're here, who you seek to serve, the way you're going to make money, the value proposition that is differentiated, and the problem that you're solving, right? You've leaned into the pain. You understand why you need this. You don't want it, you must have this. And evoking emotion along the way, getting people relatable, connecting with the way that you're building this to build true fans that will continue to support you as the venture continues to evolve. Sequencing is an interesting thing. It's interesting because if I tell you everything I do all in one moment, you're going to be like, well, that guy swings once at 100 trees. But if I tell you about one thing, and next time I explain, you want to talk about video games? You want to talk about something else? The sequencing allows you to guide people through these layers of understanding. If you overwhelm someone with so much detail, it feels like you're giving them everything they need, but what's happening is you're numbing the audience. And so keeping things concise, right? I think Einstein was the one that said, if you understand it, you can say it brief. And that's not a quote, it was close. But your goal here is to move them past curiosity, getting them curious and maybe through that first sense that we all have of, well, this isn't going to work, or how does this apply to me, or I don't want to do that, pushing them through that fear so that you can activate some sort of engagement, knowing that you might live down on the understanding, thought leadership levels, but that's not your goal. You're not trying to move them all the way through in that moment. And so sequencing your marketing material, sequencing yourself as you speak in networking events, is a valuable way of slowing it down so that there's more meat on the bone as you continue to build a connection versus a transactional networking environment. Speaking of community, when you take these characteristics into the mix, when you start showing up in community environments, maybe you decide to lead, thank you, we need you. Staying connected through that positive sum mindset that we talked about. This is abundance versus, oh, scarcity, you win, I can't. That's an outdated mindset. There is abundance in the connected era that allows you to do the almost exact same thing as your competitor with enough to spare. And so being generous with that in a community environment will build trust and allow you to accelerate others, but also feel the opportunities of others doing the same for you as you remain collaborative and consistent. That last graphic was the very first NFT minted in the Roasted Reflection collection last year. I'm glad this is nice and big because there is some small text and our time is running short. So I'll keep moving through. Hey, if you haven't thrown out something on CC Showcase, let's light up Columbia College and show how much we appreciate this time together with that hashtag on whatever social media channel you appreciate. I'm going to glaze through this because it's a whole conversation, but in the center, your initiatives should remain on the entrepreneur. If it's not, it's misguided, it will probably burn out, and you are more interested in having your sign on top of XYZ versus being the soil that truly allows the entrepreneurs to thrive. Startups, small businesses, both are valuable forms of entrepreneurship. One has an impact that's a little wider, one has a more local flavor. The 7 capitals is liberating. I don't have enough money. What do you have? Using the types of capital that you have to attract more of the capitals that you want is a liberating vibe that gives you the opportunity to go beyond I don't have money. And out on the edges are all these different types of actors, right? We're sitting in an educational institution. They care about your success. And the more they connect that type of mindset into different ecosystem actors, allowing students to blur the line between classroom and community, the more ecosystem developers can connect those dots, and the more collaborative, aware people can be. So this is my required invitation because I would love to see everyone here at 1 Million Cups. Here's one. You have to go. It's free. It's Wednesday morning. It's like Innovative Energy Shot every Wednesday. This shit is lonely. So being around your peers is part of the equation. And whether it's 1 Million Cups or whatever program you care about, there's value in that consistency. Think of this as a front porch into your entrepreneurial ecosystem, an opportunity to present, 0 cost, 6 minutes to share your story, and 20 minutes to learn from thousands of dollars worth of consulting every single week. I've been having coffee every Wednesday for 10 years, friends. There's a reason I'm weird. 1 Million Cups is a gift, and volunteering to lead is also a neat opportunity that everyone in this room has. This is where I get a little emotional, a little philosophical. I was driving one day, I felt everything was in balance. I came up with the term career nirvana, and it feels as though while it's a fleeting state, it's not a consistent vibe. There are moments in our lives, and we all have felt them, even if we haven't put a word to it, where home, your family life feels balanced with the way you're spending your time working, and it connects all through that community you care so much about. So Naval is one of my favorite modern philosophers. He talks about retirement as 3 things. Either A, you do it as a financial advisor might suggest, financially supporting yourself, the runway of life. Option B is to do kind of a monk experience, moving that runway towards $0. And the third option is to do what you love and money doesn't matter. And I think that's one way that you can liberate yourself to build, knowing that this opportunity exists for all. And you can find career nirvana in a lot of different ways, but I believe that entrepreneurship, side hustles are one of the most approachable, easiest paths towards this state. So the goal here, your parents want you to make money, you want to do something you love, you can do both. Find something that feels like play to you, that looks like work to others. Might take a couple of different tries. It's unlikely that idea A is the end result. But if you start now, which so many of you are, you have room to realize that this is a forever thing. This is not a grind. This is not something that you do and finish. This is your life. This is the way you want to spend time long term. And it's more of a dance. These environments are pretty sweet too. Oh, you can focus, my friends. When I think about all of that storytelling, all encapsulated in one thought, I am thankful that I've achieved some sort of peace. I wonder if that's what we all seek. And if you are building into areas that you truly care about, work feels more like play, there's a satisfaction that is lasting. And so the title of this talk is No Permission Required. If you needed permission, you now have it. And I encourage you to keep building right now. I'd like to finish by saying thank you. Becky, our point of contact, started at 1 million cups. The origin stories often include 1 million cups of co-founders and different opportunities. But on behalf of all the Columbia College folks that have been so gracious, so welcoming, the hospitality, the generosity of covering signed soft covers for everyone in this room, that's special, and I want to make sure that I show that gratitude for this opportunity. And so I'll close with the way that I sign every one of my books. It's a fun fact, not many people know this, but I heard this at a Jay-Z track. I went to find the copyright. It's owned by Jason Mraz, so I couldn't print it in the book, but I get to write it in the book. May the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Keep building.